The video opens in complete darkness, with only the sound of slow, rhythmic knocking echoing as if from the other side of a wooden door. The camera fades in on a dimly lit hallway of an old American home, peeling wallpaper, dusty floorboards, and a single lamp flickering like it's struggling to stay alive. The knocking continues, steady and deliberate, always 3 knocks, always the same distance apart. Then the narrator whispers, "They said the man who knocked every night at 3:17 a.m. had been dead for 10 years. But the knocking never stopped. A shadow moves across the far end of the hallway, slow, almost human, but disappears before the viewer can fully register it. The music drops into a low, unsettling hum as the scene fades out. Your voice enters, calm and eerie. Welcome to Dark Whisper Stories, where the quiet corners of America hold secrets far darker than anyone dares to admit." A faint breeze moves through as if someone unseen just walked past. The camera now glides over an empty small town. Street porch lights glowing, distant dogs barking, a mail truck parked beside a curb. Everything looks normal, safe, familiar. But your tone hints otherwise. "Tonight's tale comes from a peaceful suburban neighborhood," you continue, "the kind where families lock their doors at night, not knowing that sometimes danger doesn't try to break in. Sometimes it knocks politely and waits for someone to answer." The music swells just slightly as you invite listeners to lean closer. "Stay with me," you say softly, "because what happened in this house will make you think twice about opening your door after midnight." Daniel Reeves had lived in Pine Hollow, Ohio his whole life, a calm, predictable town where the loudest noise after sunset was the buzzing street lamp on Willow Lane. He moved into his late uncle's house after losing his job, hoping the quiet atmosphere would help him rebuild. The house was old but sturdy, with oak flooring and a creaky front porch that groaned whenever he stepped on it. Everything seemed normal during the day. But the first night inside, Daniel woke to a strange sound echoing through the hallway. It wasn't pipes, it wasn't wind, it was knocking. 3 slow knocks. He checked the clock. 3:17 a.m. The hour felt oddly specific. When he approached the door, no one was there. The street outside was empty, not even a passing car. The next night, it happened again. 3 knocks. Same time, same rhythm. Daniel tried rationalizing it, maybe a prankster, maybe a loose shutter. But he couldn't explain the heavy, deliberate pattern, as if someone knew exactly when he'd be awake. And on the 3rd night, when he peered through the peephole, he saw something that froze him. A tall figure standing perfectly still on the porch, head tilted, unmoving, like it had been waiting for him to look. Daniel spent the next morning questioning everything. He asked his neighbor, Mr. Harrington, if anyone had been seen wandering around at night. The old man's face went pale instantly. "You heard knocking? At 3:17? Daniel nodded. Harrington's jaw tightened. "You need to stay inside. Don't open the door. Ever." Before Daniel could ask why, the neighbor walked off and shut his door, refusing to answer further. That night, Daniel set up his phone to record the front porch. If someone was messing with him, he'd catch them. He tried staying awake, but exhaustion pulled him under. The knocking jolted him upright. 3 knocks. 3:17 a.m. He rushed to his phone, heart pounding. The recording showed the porch clearly, but there was no one there. Daniel replayed it twice, confused and frustrated. But then he realized something worse. Between the knocks, he could faintly hear a whisper, soft, stretched, almost pleading. It spoke his name. The next morning, he returned to the recording and turned up the volume. The whisper repeated clearly, "Let me in, Daniel." He dropped the phone, hands shaking. The only people who knew his neighbors, and whoever was knocking hadn't used a human voice. By the 4th night, Daniel barricaded the door with chairs, shelves, anything he could move. He sat facing it with a flashlight and a kitchen knife, breathing heavily, waiting for the inevitable. The house was silent, too silent, until the clock flicked over to 3:17 a.m. The knocks came instantly, louder than before, forceful enough to rattle the frame. Daniel's breath caught as the chairs vibrated from the impact. He didn't move. He didn't blink. The knocking stopped. For a moment, he thought it was over until the doorknob slowly began to turn. Not violently, but gently, as if a polite visitor was letting themselves in. "Stop," Daniel whispered, backing away. The turning stopped. Then the whisper seeped through the door again. "Daniel, open it." The voice was clearer now, wrong, stretched too thin to be human. He turned on his flashlight and looked through the peephole. What he saw didn't make sense. The figure had no face, just smooth skin where features should be. Yet somehow, it was angled toward him like it could still see him. The knocking resumed on the inside walls, this time behind him, above him, everywhere at once. Daniel realized something horrifying. The thing wasn't just at the door anymore. It was inside the house. Daniel ran toward the back exit, but every door he touched felt ice cold, like something was holding it shut from the other side. The whispers followed him through the rooms, overlapping voices now, all begging softly, "Let me in." He stumbled into his uncle's old study, hoping to hide, when he noticed a dusty box on the desk labeled in shaky handwriting, 317. Inside were newspaper clippings, each describing a mysterious death on Willow Lane. All of them happened exactly at 3:17 a.m. Daniel's uncle had circled one article. Local man found at doorstep after answering midnight knocking. The photo showed a faceless figure standing over him, identical to the one outside Daniel's house. Before he could react, the study lights flickered violently. The temperature dropped so sharply frost crawled across the windows. Behind him, slow footsteps approached. Daniel turned, trembling. The faceless figure was inches away. It didn't move like a living thing, more like a puppet pulled by invisible strings. It leaned close, and in a voice stitched together from countless whispers, it said, "Your uncle let me in. Now it's your turn." The screen cuts to black. Some say Daniel vanished that night. Others claim the knocking still echoes on Willow Lane, always at 3:17 a.m., always waiting for the next door to open. The house on Willow Lane sits quiet now, but the silence is a lie. Neighbors say that ever since Daniel vanished, the street feels different, colder, like the air itself is waiting for something. Some nights, when the wind dies and the whole neighborhood is asleep, a sound drifts across the empty sidewalks. 3 slow knocks, always at 3:17 a.m., always from Daniel's porch. A few brave souls have walked past at night, hoping to prove the stories wrong. But every single one of them swears the same thing. As they approached the house, the porch light flickered on by itself, and a tall, faceless silhouette appeared behind the screen door, standing perfectly still, like it was listening for footsteps. No one goes near the house anymore. The police wrote Daniel off as missing, and the town tries to forget. But some secrets refuse to stay buried. Those who live closest say they still hear whispers seeping through the walls of their own homes, calling softly for someone, anyone, to open the door. And if you're ever passing through Pine Hollow late at night, check your clock, because if it's close to 3:17 a.m., you might hear the knocking too. And once it knows you've heard it, it never forgets. Subscribe to Dark Whisper Stories and tell us which nightmare you want to hear next. Until then, keep your lights on, and whatever you do, a few brave souls have walked past at night, hoping to prove the stories wrong. But every single one of them swears the same thing. As they approached the house, the porch light flickered on by itself, and a tall, faceless silhouette appeared behind the screen door, standing perfectly still, like it was listening for footsteps. No one goes near the house anymore. The police wrote Daniel off as missing, and the town tries to forget. But some secrets refuse to stay buried. Those who live closest say they still hear whispers seeping through the walls of their own homes, calling softly for someone, anyone, to open the door. And if you're ever passing through Pine Hollow late at night, check your clock, because if it's close to 3:17 a.m., you might hear the knocking too. And once it knows you've heard it, it never forgets. Subscribe to Dark Whisper Stories and tell us which nightmare you want to hear next. Until then, keep your lights on, and whatever you do, a few brave souls have walked past at night, hoping to prove the stories wrong. But every single one of them swears the same thing. As they approached the house, the porch light flickered on by itself, and a tall, faceless silhouette appeared behind the screen door, standing perfectly still, like it was listening for footsteps. No one goes near the house anymore. The police wrote Daniel off as missing, and the town tries to forget. But some secrets refuse to stay buried. Those who live closest say they still hear whispers seeping through the walls of their own homes, calling softly for anyone to open the door. And if you're ever passing through Pine Hollow late at night, check your clock, because if it's close to 3:17 a.m., you might hear the knocking too. And once it knows you've heard it, it never forgets. Subscribe to Dark Whisper Stories and tell us which nightmare you want to hear next. Until then, keep your lights on, and whatever you do,